Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a wonderful day. So I was going to do a video on this and then put it on my YouTube channel, but I felt like going live. There's something about the energy of being live that, I don't know, I feel like things like flow through me differently. So I'll probably keep this up for a couple days and then I'll take it down and put it on my YouTube channel. Um, And apparently there's like a YouTube live feature, but I'm still new at all that stuff. So I'm figuring it out. So for now, going live here, and we're going to talk about the spiritual reason that we hold excess chub or excess weight in our bellies, right? So maybe that's the place that we feel like no matter what we do, we can't get rid of the chub there. We can't lose weight there. Or maybe that's the place that we gain weight first, right? When we start to gain weight, like we see it there first. So as you are hopping on, please say hello. Let me know that you're watching. Or if you're watching the replay, you can put hashtag replay. Because this is definitely going to be different than almost like any other video or article you would read on this, right? So most people are going to tell you that you're eating the wrong foods, or you need to cut out certain food groups, you need to heal your gut, you need to work out differently. And of course, some of those things might help, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with any of those. But if you don't address this underlying reason, then you're always going to be fighting this like uphill battle, right? You might get a couple of things in alignment physically in your body, but if you don't address this energetic stuff, which is my favorite thing to talk about, you're not going to see those results, right? You're not going to see lasting results. And even if you do change your physical body, you're going to have this underlying soul work that needs to still be done, right? And I know this because this is the work that I do with my clients, but it's also what I've experienced, right? I spent so much of my life making sure I was eating like the right foods, reading all the books, watching all the documentaries, doing all the research to the point of literally studying holistic nutrition and, being certified in that. And I still I knew it was crazy. Like I knew exactly what I should and shouldn't be eating, but it didn't matter because I had these underlying things that were ruling me and that were um, keeping me from being able to release excess weight and keeping me from not just that, but being able to be really happy, allowing myself to process the things that were going on, to process the traumas that I had experienced, the soul wounds that I had, and to heal those things so that not only could I get in control of my body and my emotions, but I could break past all of these other blocks that I had in my life that were surrounding this, right? So the first thing that you have to understand when we're talking about the spiritual reason that we hold excess weight in our bellies is, first of all, we're very intuitive beings, right? Whether or not you consider yourself intuitive or psychic, we all are intuitive by nature. And it may be something that you've either suppressed, that you haven't learned how to tap into, or that you've blocked, right? Um, but we all have the ability to be intuitive, to receive intuitive messages, downloads, uploads, to read the energy around us, to read the people, the environments. And the place that we read this through is actually our bellies, right? So our bellies are kind of like the receptors to this energy and to this intuitive information. And it's through our bellies that we're feeling this energy. So if you consider yourself an empath, or maybe you don't even know what an empath is, you don't have to. But if you are very sensitive to the energy around you, right? Especially right now with all of these like eclipses and retrogrades and, and the fluctuations of the moon. If you're sensitive to those kinds of energies, or if you're sensitive to the people that you come in contact with, or you're sensitive to your cycle, you're sensitive to any of these different factors, right? And, we think of it as if we're taking in this information mentally, like through our minds, but we're actually feeling all of these energies in our bodies and specifically in our bellies, right? So most of us, myself included, we haven't been taught or hadn't been taught, especially growing up, how to filter these energies, how to protect ourselves energetically, right? How to filter this information and use this information intuitively, right? So it can feel super overwhelming and super draining. So, what so many of us do unconsciously is we create this barrier or this protection in our bellies, right? Literally, we hold excess weight in that area to kind of be like our what do you call it? Like our protection or our filter, right? So that it doesn't hit us so strongly. And if you can imagine your belly just without any extra weight, just completely vulnerable and bare, right? And imagine being able to feel your intuition super strongly, being able to feel it at full force, right? Some of you are probably like, yeah, I want that. But in reality, if you don't know how to protect yourself and how to filter that, it's going to feel so overwhelming and confusing, especially as a little girl. Imagine being a little girl going through this, right? And that's how it was for me ever since I was a very little girl. I mean, I can remember as early as like 5, but who knows, maybe even earlier, um, binge eating, right? Because I didn't know what was going on, but I was just feeling this energy so intensely. And, like as little kids, we're so fucking psychic. We're so in tune to the energy that's going around us. Like our parents don't have to say things. We can feel it. And I know that that's when it starts for most of us, is when we're little, when we're young, and we're not taught um, how to tap into these gifts, right? And maybe even more so, we feel one thing, but we're told something else, right? So we might feel like we can energetically, intuitively feel that something's wrong or something's off. But then our parents will tell us, oh, no, 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 everything's okay. Don't worry, everything's fine. And they're trying to protect us. But what that creates is this really like uncomfortable feeling of not being able to trust yourself and not understanding, well, what is that feeling telling me if I'm wrong? Like my parents are telling me I'm wrong, everything's fine, but I feel like everything isn't fine, right? And that's just one example of how this can become a very complicated feeling for us. And so, as that continues on and on and on, we're going to just be like, I don't like this uncomfortable feeling. I want to numb it. I want to push it out. I want to, create like this barrier between me, my belly, my receptive, intuitive zone, and all these energies that I'm feeling around me. And so that's when we start to create that barrier, right? That excess weight. We start to hold weight in that area. We start to create energetic blocks in our bodies. We start to kind of cut ourselves off from people. And maybe not completely, but we don't let them see who we are fully. We don't let them see our entire self. We don't express ourselves fully, right? And so this is like the beginning of when we start to really like suppress ourselves, and it gets just pushed down in that area, right? And so this space that's meant to be this like free flowing, area of where we're supposed to be able to receive our intuition, receive uploads, and really have this like expansive access to translating the energy around us, it becomes really muddied, really stuck, really contracted energy. And then we kind of start to become obsessed with fitting a certain image, right? So now we're not even worried that we're holding excess weight because of what it's, what the deeper reason is, right? What it's actually doing. But now we try to force our bodies to look a certain way to fulfill this image, right? Of like having six-pack abs or, flat bellies or whatever, right? And it's not necessarily what's right for our body, and we're not addressing the underlying issue. So now we're doing all of these things like cleanses or diets, workouts to try to force our bodies to look and be a certain way. And in actuality, we're not addressing the underlying issue. And there's so much more going on. Okay, so something that is also really important to know is that I'm not saying that if you don't have a completely flat belly, that you're not addressing something in your life, right? So what we have to understand is that we have these, okay, when we have blocks, right? Whether that's, holding excess weight or energetic blocks or any like blocks around our chakras, we have to realize that we're putting those blocks there for a reason, right? And sometimes we put them there as like for a disempowered reason, right? So we put them there out of fear, out of hurt, out of being wounded, out of suffering, right? And other times we put them there because we're putting boundaries, right? Maybe it's not time for us to be completely open in that area, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? We're all at our own like place in our spiritual development and in our soul's journey. And there's nothing wrong with where we're at. But sometimes we put certain blocks in place to create boundaries, right? So it's more important for us to look at, is this block here because of a disempowered reason, an out of alignment reason, a reason that is in line with fear or hurt or wounding? Or is this block here as a sacred boundary, right? And so that's a practice that we have to kind of tap into and dive into on our own into recognizing and just creating awareness around where do we have blocks and where do these blocks come from, right? Why did we put them there in the first place? And the ones that are there from a disempowered point, these are the ones that we want to work on dissolving, right? Whereas the other ones we can honor and we can ask like, okay, what can I do, or should I do, not even should, but what are my next steps to becoming empowered to the point where I can also dissolve this, right? And there's no rush to get there. There's never any rush, right? We're always right where we need to be, right place at the right time, and we're all in our own pace. We're all in our own place at our own pace in our soul's journey. So it's okay to take our time, but also to recognize where we're telling ourselves, oh, I'm being gentle with myself, I'm taking my time, and where we are actually just creating more resistance and more blocks, right? So are we truly being gentle with ourselves in alignment with our sacred boundaries? Or are we going so easy on ourselves because we're afraid of moving forward and we're afraid of dissolving those blocks? Does that make sense, you guys? Do you guys have any questions about this so far? I think the main thing is that just recognizing that, okay, like this is the area of our body that we're filtering so much energy, and we're able to feel so much and connect so much to our intuition. So a lot of times when we're holding a lot of excess weight in that area and we can't seem to let it go, or to stop overeating, or to eat the foods that we know are good for us, right? Not that are traditionally, or, like through a diet told to us, like you should eat this, you should eat that, but actually good for us, for what our body needs, right? Because we intuitively know. We don't need to be told what diet to follow. We don't need to be told, what nutrients to eat more of. Like intuitively, if you're really able to connect to that, you know what your body needs. But so many of us are disconnected from that at this point, because at some point along the way, it didn't feel safe to listen to our intuition. It didn't feel safe to connect to that intuitive part of us. Maybe we were told we were wrong, or we were, pushed down for using our intuition rather than facts, right? And so these are all reasons that we can start to, want to really create this boundary in this area. Yeah, does that make sense, you guys? I hope that makes sense. Um, I would love to know if, give me some hearts or something if that makes sense to you. If you guys have any questions, let me know. So this is what I always love to dive into, is these deeper reasons that we're holding this excess weight, right? And the work that I do goes so beyond weight loss, and really into allowing ourselves to be seen, allowing ourselves to express ourselves fully. And in that, it's about healing these deeper wounds. And these wounds are not only causing us to hold excess weight, but they're holding us back in so many areas of our life, right? They're holding us back in our businesses and our relationships and our ability to create abundance, right? Because it's not just ever one area of your life that is affected by these deeper suppressed wounds. um, it's like it ripples out into so many areas of our lives. So when I work with clients and we dig up these things, right, and we heal these things, and we bring to light these subconscious parts of us that are operating and that are really holding us back, right? They expand in every area. They expand in, their ability to show up, their ability to express themselves, their ability to receive love, to show up in their businesses, to make money. And the weight loss is just kind of like the cherry on top, right? Because it's like no longer are they struggling to love their bodies or to eat intuitively, to eat the amounts that their body really wants, not the amounts that are numbing things, right? But this is kind of like the external expression of all these things, is the relationship we have with our bodies, right? The relationship we have with food, the excess weight that we're holding, right? It's something that's so much deeper than just, losing weight. So it goes really deep, really deep. And right now I have 2 spots open to work with me one-on-one. So if you've been watching my content, if you have been resonating with my posts, now's the time to reach out. I have 2 spots open and going to be closing them in the next week or so. So let me know if you have any questions. And I would love to hear what you guys thought about this. I would love to hear maybe what stories come to mind of, the first time that you felt like it wasn't safe to listen to your intuition, or maybe you got kind of mixed messages as a kid that made you kind of shut off in that area and want to block that area, right? That belly, that like intuitive receptor. Um, And yeah. All right, babes, that's all I really wanted to dive into today. I hope you have a wonderful day. And if you have any questions, throw it into the comments. I'll do my best to take a peek at those later. Okay, bye.